For the practice example for Module 2, we're going to use some data about hypertension. So begin by viewing this NCHS data brief from 2020 that gives you some information about hypertension prevalence among adults aged 18 and over in the United States from 2017 to 2018. Please read the full data brief so you have an understanding of the relationship with hypertension and age. We'll give you some information about the racial differences, and this is also an introduction to the format of the data briefs that you'll be submitting as part of your teamwork for the end of the semester. Begin by downloading the data for JUMP. So open with JUMP 14. You can see here that there are 12 columns of data: ID, race, ethnicity, GEN, age underscore B, height underscore B, SM underscore X, SM underscore CUR, SBP at baseline, SBP at month 48, weight at baseline, and weight at month 48. It's important to remember that baseline means the first weight that has been taken prior to following up people for an extended period of time with or without an intervention. It is the baseline value. It's the starting value. So some of these variable names make sense. We can assume race is the race value, Eth is probably ethnicity, GEN is probably gender. But what about the rest of them? How are they coded? So let's go ahead and download here the codebook that goes with this data set, and we'll open it again. And you can see here, if we align the codebook with the data set, you can see that ID is the participant ID, and this won't be used for analysis. It's just so that you can talk about individual participants. You'll see here that race is in fact self-reported race, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. Ethnicity is self-reported ethnicity. There's only 2 categories. Gender is self-reported gender, and in this case, the options were male and female. Age underscore B is the age in years of participants at baseline. And so what's important here to think about for a value like age is that this is a continuous metric. It is captured in years. Same with height. It is captured in inches. Height is captured in inches. We have smoking history, and that is ever, never, and we have smoking current, so whether they're a current smoker. And then we have 4 continuous values, 2 for systolic blood pressure and 2 for weight at baseline and month 48. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and look at the worksheet for the Practice 2 module. So open that in Microsoft Word. And it's very important to make sure, one, that you put your name on, and then also you want to save it, and go ahead and all you need to do is put your last name here, last name and an underscore, and then go ahead and save it so that you don't lose your work. So in looking at this worksheet, you can see that you're asked to complete the following using JUMP and the SBP weight data. So we've got some baseline measures here: age, height, systolic blood pressure, and weight. And we're only looking at the continuous values. So we're not going to be looking at race, ethnicity, gender, or smoking status yet. We're only going to be looking at the 4 major continuous variables at baseline here. And the first part to do is to go ahead and complete the n, the mean, and the median values for each of these measures to go along with the first component talking about central tendency. So if we go into JUMP, we can see that we want to get these 4 variables. I'm only going to look at it for 1 variable, and the rest of them you can complete yourself. So let's go ahead and go to the Analyze menu and Distribution. And the variable we're going to look at is age at baseline. So age at baseline, I want to put into my Y columns category, age at baseline into Y columns, and press OK. you can see here in JUMP that we get some pretty standard output for a continuous variable. We get what is called a histogram. JUMP likes this histogram to be vertical. In order to better assess the shape of the distribution, you can look under this red triangle. Anytime you see a red triangle, click on it and see what you can do. So I'm going to click on the red drop-down triangle from age, and under the histogram options, you can see that vertical is checked. I'm actually simply going to uncheck. And that way the histogram becomes horizontal. I'm going to use my mouse to drag and make this histogram larger. So we can see here that our values range from slightly less than 20 to slightly more than 60. This does seem to have a single mound symmetric shape, with the middle of the data being somewhere about here. So my central tendency is here. And then you can see that on either side of my central tendency, it looks like I have a pretty symmetric distribution. So you could draw about even-sized tails around this distribution about a measure of central tendency here. So the first thing that I'm going to do here in JUMP is I'm going to hide the quantiles. When you see a gray drop-down arrow, you can click on it and it will hide that component of the analysis platform or what has been outputted for you. And I'm simply going to look at the summary statistics. So here I have the mean value for age. The mean value for age, 37.629167. It's very important that you know that JUMP doesn't understand what this value is, so it's going to give you 6 decimal places. We probably don't need 6 decimal places for age. If you think about age, this is the year, 37. The first decimal place would then give you months, 37.6. The second decimal place would give you weeks. This would give you days, this would give you hours, this would give you minutes, this would give you seconds. We don't need age to be that specific. In statistics, we should use at least 1 decimal place, but no more if it's not required. So 37.6 will be our mean value for age. 37.6 will be our mean value for age. Now I'm going to go ahead and center all of my values so that they're right up underneath the headers for these columns. The next thing that I noticed that I missed was the N. Remember, N is the sample size. So we can look for that here. We can look for that here. And my N is 240. It's important to notice that this N and the N down here in the lower corner, of your data table is also 240. And that means that we don't have any missing data. So we can simply just put the 240 in here and we don't need to make an allowance for any missingness. So that's my N and my mean for this symmetric distribution. That's my mean. But I may also want to record the median. So where can I find the median? Let's first look at my little red drop down. And it's going to allow me to either show all modes, which we could click on. We could click on the mode. Remember, we learned about the mode is another measure of central tendency, and the mode is 41, and there are 17 people, 17 respondents with a value of 41. That means it is just the most common single value, as opposed to our mean value, our average value of 37.6. What about our median? Well, again, let's click on the red drop down and bring up this customized summary statistics. And you'll see here a large list of things comes up. And down on this list, I could ask for the N missing. So if I wanted to know if there were any missing variables, and I could ask for the median. I could also ask for the mode, though I already have it. And there's any number of values that this will give you. But I'm just going to stick with my N missing and my median. So you can see here my N missing is 0. We already knew that because I have 240 here and I have 240 here over in the left-hand corner. So my N missing is 0. My median value is 38. So it's very close to my mean value. So I can go ahead and put my median value in here at 38. And I now have my measures of central tendency in this table for age. Continue on and complete the measures of central tendency for height, systolic blood pressure at baseline, and weight at baseline. So we're not concerning ourselves with the month 48 variables yet. We're just using the 2 baseline variables. So for the first part of practice 2, complete the mean, median, and N for each of the remainder of these variables.